Good morning to everyone. My name is Nagendra, working as an assistant professor in the Department of CSM at Marri Laxman Reddy Institute of Technology and Management. Today, I would like to explain the subject machine learning. In this subject, I am going to explain the topics. What are the different types of machine learning algorithms? After the completion of this machine learning subject, what a student can gain. These are the outcomes of the machine learning subject. First of all, the student understanding the fundamentals of well-posed learning problem and a learning system. What are the differences between the supervised and unsupervised learning methods? After that, understanding the concept learning and concept learning as a search and find a algorithm and version space. After that, student able to understand how a maximum specific hypothesis will be found out by the candidate elimination algorithm. After that, student be able to understand what are the perceptron algorithm and what are the different types of classification algorithms like logistic regression and linear regression. These are the outcomes of the machine learning subject. Today, we will enter into the first unit. Here we will see what are the different types of textbooks are available for machine learning subject. Machine learning by Tom Mitchell, machine learning and algorithm perspective, Stephen Marshall and Tyler Francis. These are the two textbooks we can follow for the machine learning subject. This is the first unit syllabus. Here, majorly three parts: learning part and concept learning task and linear regression. The student will understand what are the different types of machine learning algorithms, supervised and unsupervised learning algorithm, and designing a learning system. After that, concept learning task and concept learning as a search, find a algorithm, version space, candidate elimination algorithm. After that, in the third part, student will be able to understand logistic regression. These are the three topics covered in the first unit. Now we will enter into the actual topic, that is nothing but the different types of machine learning algorithms. Before going to the topic, what are the different types of algorithms we have? First of all, we need to understand what is meant by machine learning. Name itself says machine learning. A machine can learn from the data or by the experience without explicitly program. There is no need to write the program. There is no need to write the explicit program for the machine learning. A machine can learn from the data and by the experience. That's it. Next, why we are going through the machine learning subject? What are the perspectives and what are the major issues in the machine learning? First of all, machine learning is a field of artificial intelligence where system learns patterns from the data to make predictions or decisions without being explicitly programmed. Now we can compare what is the traditional programming, what is the machine learning. As we know that in the traditional programming, we are writing the program for a particular problem. To solve the particular problem, we are writing the program. That program is fixed for solving that problem. Here, we need to give the rules plus data to the computer, then computer will produce the results. This is what exactly happening in the normal traditional programming language. First of all, we need to construct the rules and we need to pass the data. Then the computer will produce the answers for us. But here, when we observe in the machine learning subject, we need to pass the training data set plus answers. We are providing data and answers. Then the machine can understand the hidden patterns of this data and produce the results and forming the rules by itself. By understanding the concept of the data, it will identify certain patterns and make the rules by itself. There is no need to write rules by ours, it learns by itself. So this is the basic difference between the traditional programming and machine learning. Now, what are the different types of machine learning algorithms? As we discussed, there are majorly four types of machine learning algorithms: supervised learning algorithm, unsupervised learning algorithm, and reinforcement learning algorithm. One more one is semi-supervised learning algorithm. Actually, we are not much discussed over the semi-supervised learning algorithm. First one is supervised learning algorithm. The machine learning algorithms which works on the categorical data, which works on the labeled data. is nothing but the supervised learning algorithms. The machine learning algorithms which works on the unlabeled data set. Unlabeled data set. Unlabeled data. Supervised learning is labeled data. So the machine learning algorithms which works on the unlabeled data set is known as the unsupervised learning algorithms. Semi-supervised learning algorithm. The machine learning algorithms which works on the labeled data set as well as unlabeled data set is known as the semi-supervised learning algorithms. Name itself says semi-supervised. So it works on the both labeled data set as well as unlabeled data set. Last one is reinforcement learning algorithm. It is completely different. An agent can interact with the environment and learn. That is nothing but the reinforcement learning algorithm. Now we will discuss one by one. First, we will go through the supervised learning algorithms. As we know that supervised learning algorithm is a type of machine learning where a model learns from the labeled data. What is meant by labeled data? Labeled data is nothing but every input is associated with correct output. Every input is associated with correct output. Such type of data is known as the labeled data set. Here, see, each input has a correct output. When we observe this image, this is the labeled data set. This labeled data set is correctly mapped with the correct outputs that are nothing but the labels. So, this is the data and these are the answers. Data plus answers. We are passing this data to the machine learning algorithm. Then this algorithm identifying the patterns, how this labeled data set associated with correct output. It identifies and then finally it will identify the hidden patterns and the results. By this way, machine learning algorithm will trained by the labeled data set. After the completion of this training, suppose you are passing a particular animal image to this algorithm, then it will identify it is belongs to particular label. Maybe it is an elephant, maybe it is a camel, or maybe it is a cow. So a supervised learning algorithm will work on the labeled data set. Next, what are the main features of the supervised learning algorithm is each input has the correct output. The data set, labeled data set, right? We call as labeled data set. Every labeled data set must and should be input is mapped with the correct output. There is an input and output. Each input has a known output. Adjust itself to reduce the predictions. While doing the task or while performing the task, the supervised learning algorithm adjusts itself to reduce the prediction errors. Make accurate predictions on new data. So these are the three main features of the supervised learning algorithm. Now, what are the different types of supervised learning algorithms we have? Majorly, we have classification and regression. These are the two supervised learning algorithms. What it means? These two algorithms will work on the labeled data set only. Labeled data set. Why? Because these two are the supervised learning algorithm. Now, what is meant by classification? Classification is nothing but dividing the data into disjoint groups. Classification is the definition of the classification is dividing the data into disjoint groups. Here, see. Now, what type of data the classification algorithms will work? When the data, where the output is categorical variable. When the output of the data is categorical. Okay, I will say what is meant by categorical. Categorical data is nothing but the value of the categorical data is always text. One of the best example is spam, non-spam, yes or no, deceased, non-deceased. Like that, the value of the data is in the form of text. Such a type of data is known as the categorical data. The algorithms which works on the Categorical data is nothing but the classification algorithms. Where the output is categorical variable, then we will go through the classification algorithm. We do have so many types of classification algorithms like SVM, decision tree, random forest. These are all the different types of classification learning algorithms. Now, next, regression. Regression is nothing but smoothing or fitting the data into a straight line. That is the definition. The definition of regression is fitting the data or smoothing the data or forming the data in a straight line is nothing but the regression. Basically, regression algorithms are used on numerical type of values or continuous type of values. Where the output is a continuous variable, then we use the regression algorithms. These are the two supervised learning algorithms only. Now, coming to the point of classification. Classification algorithms will work on categorical data. Regression algorithms will work on continuous type of data. Continuous type of data examples are predicting the house prices and stock prices. We know that prices means it is varying continuously, right? So, numerical values. These are the two different types of supervised learning algorithms. Next, coming to the point of working of supervised learning algorithm. How classification algorithms or regression algorithms are working. First, collect the labeled data set, gathering the information about the data. After that, splitting the data into two parts, training data set and test data set. Suppose a data set may contain 100 values. 80 values are considered as the training data set, 20 values are considered as the test data set. So, collect the data, split the data. Next, train the model. You can choose any one of the machine learning model. Like you can choose SVM or decision tree or any supervised learning algorithm you can choose, and you can feed the training data means input and their labels to a suitable supervised learning algorithm like decision tree, SVM, linear regression, any. You can pass the data. The model tries to find out the patterns that maps input to correct outputs. How the data is mapped in each input is mapped with the output. It will identify the patterns in between the inputs and the outputs. Now the training is completed. Now we need to validate and test the model. How can we validate? Evaluate the model by using test data set. Test data set we already had, we do have 20% of data is there, right? So with the help of this 20% of data, we can test the model. Is it predicting correct value or not? If it is predicting correct, then it is good. Otherwise, how much error is there? We need to calculate that. Next, deploy and prediction on new data. Once the model performs well, if suppose there is no errors, the model is working properly, then it can be used to predict outputs of completely new data and unseen data. So we can deploy the model. So these are the 5 steps involved in working process of the supervised learning algorithm. Collecting the data, next split the data, train the model, validate and test the model, and deploy and prediction on new data. This is the working process of supervised learning algorithm. Next, what are the different types of supervised learning types? We already discussed classification algorithm. Classification algorithms are used when the output is categorical variable. They assign input data to any one of the predefined classes or categories. What is the definition of classification? It divides the data into disjoint groups. These are the examples: spam, not spam, pass or fail, disease positive or negative, fraudulent or genuine transactions. Whenever this type of data we do have, then we will go through the classification learning algorithms. These are the different types of classification learning algorithm we do have: linear regression, logistic regression, decision tree, random forest, support vector mission, k nearest neighborhood algorithm, naive Bayesian, and artificial neural network. These are the different types of classification learning algorithms. Next, classification learning algorithm, one of the best example. A classification model might be trained on data set of images as labeled as either dogs or cats. It can be used to predict the class of new unseen images as dogs or cats based on their features such as color, texture, or shape. Here, observe that this is the training data. Dog, cat. There are some dog images. There are some cat images. After the completion of this training, we are sending the new image. This cat image is not available in this data set. We are passing this image to supervised learning algorithm. Based on the features of this image, it will identify or it will classify the image is cat. Then it is belongs to this category. This is the way how a classification algorithm will classify the data into different classes. Supervised learning algorithm. What are the different types of classifications we do have? There are multiple types of classifications: binary classification, multi-class classification, multi-label classification. Binary classification is nothing but whenever the data set contains only two types of categories, like yes or no, pass, fail, uh, spam, not spam. Whenever the data having only two types of categories, then we will go through the binary classification. Whenever there are multiple classes, suppose previously we considered animal photos, like, right? So suppose there are cat images, there are dog images, there are like elephant images. Then so the data is divided into three disjoint groups. Whenever there are three categories, then it is called as multi-class classification. Multi-label classification. We will go through this. First, we will discuss about what is meant by binary classification. Binary classification is the simplest type of classification where the data is divided into two possible categories only. Means there are only two categories in the given data set. Two classes only. Each data point is assigned to any one of the category. Common example: spam, not spam, diseased, healthy patients. Like this, only there are two categories. In that case, we will go through the binary classification. Multi-class classification. If suppose there are more than two classes of data, more than two categories of data, then we will go through the multi-class classification. Here there are multiple classes, but each data point is assigned to any one of the several possible categories. What it means? A point is belongs to only one class. A point is not belongs to multiple classes. A data point is belongs to any one of the class, not all classes. Okay. Single final prediction. The model selects only one class for one each input. This is the most important point. Multi-class classification. One of the best example is identifying the animals like cat, dog, or bird. What it means here? Three type of classes: cat, dog, bird. So there are here the images. Each image is maybe belongs to cat, maybe belongs to dog, maybe belongs to bird. By this way, multi-way classification will happen. Now, multi-label classification. It is somewhat different. Means a data point is belongs to multiple labels. A data point is belongs to one point can belong to more than one category. Suppose we consider a movie. A movie may belongs to, based on the synopsis or based on the story of the movie, that movie belongs to multiple genres, right? Suppose a movie is there, that movie may be crime. A movie may contain crime, drama, comedy. What it means? A single data point belongs to multiple genres or multiple classes. So it is known as the multi-label classification. Common example: a movie recommendation system may tag a movie both action, comedy, based on the features like plot, actors, general tags. Based on the actors, based on the synopsis of the movie, a movie is tagged with action, adventure, comedy, family drama, love, anything. So by this way, a single data point belongs to multiple labels, multiple categories. So this is multi-label classification. That's it. Now up to now we discussed about only classification, that is supervised learning algorithm. In the classification, again we do have binary classification, multi-class classification, and multi-label classification. Now coming to the point of regression algorithms. Regression algorithms used when the output or target variable is continuous numerical value. Examples are house prediction, house price prediction, temperature forecasting, salary prediction, stock price prediction, and sales forecasting. These are the some of the examples of regression methods. Common regression algorithms are linear regression, polynomial, decision regression, random forest regression, support vector regression, and ridge regression, and lasso regression. These are the different types of regression algorithms. Now, supervised learning algorithms are completed. Now, we will go to the unsupervised learning algorithm. As we said that supervised learning algorithms are working on labeled data set, but unsupervised learning algorithms are working on unlabeled data set. There is no each input is not mapped with the correct output. Each input is not mapped with the correct output. The algorithm finds hidden patterns, groups, relationships in the data without knowing the correct output. Without knowing correct output, the algorithm itself find out the relationships, the groups, and hidden patterns inside the data. With the help of that only, it will learn. The machine can learn by itself. What are the common unsupervised learning algorithms we have? K-mean algorithm. K-mean clustering algorithm groups similar type of data into clusters. Hierarchical clustering, DBS scan, principal component analysis, association rule mining, a priori algorithm. These are the different types of unsupervised learning algorithm. There is no necessity of discussing all these algorithms. Just naming unsupervised learning algorithms. Now, this is one of the best example for unsupervised learning algorithm. Here, see, we are not specifying any answers. We are giving only data. Here, here we can see three types of. We can see three types of vegetables: brinjal, onion, and values. Okay. Whenever we pass this type of data to the machine learning algorithm, based on the shape, based on the color, based on the structure of the vegetable, it will identify patterns. After identifying the patterns, it will categorize into three types. So here we are not specifying any output values. We are specifying only data. We are passing the data, and the algorithm itself learns and identifying based on the features of the each vegetable. It will classify the vegetables. This is known as the unsupervised learning algorithm. Next, reinforcement learning algorithm. It is completely different. Reinforcement learning is a type of machine learning in which an agent learns by interacting with an environment and receiving rewards or penalties for its action. So, an agent can interact with the environment and performing the actions. For that actions, he may be receiving the rewards, he may be receiving the penalties. If his action is success, then he will get the reward. If his action is not success, then he will get the penalty. Even though there is a penalty, he will learn something. So next time that action cannot be performed. Why? Because he got penalty, right? So by itself he will learn. By interacting with the environment, he will do the actions and perform the actions and learn something. That is nothing but the reinforcement learning algorithm. Now, these are the different types of reinforcement learning algorithm: Q learning, SARSA, and deep Q network. Types. Oh, sorry. Reinforcement learning algorithm. One of the best example. Here we can see agent. Agent can select the algorithm and performing the action. Agent can select any one of the algorithm and perform the action in the environment through the actuators. Actually, an agent can have sensors and actuators. Through the sensors, he will grasp the perceptions from the environment and do the actions with the help of actuators. And for that actions, he will from the best action, he will get the reward. And whenever he perform particular action on the environment, that the state of the environment must should be changed, right? So again, he will choose another best action and perform the action in the environment. Again, for that also he will get the reward. Sometimes maybe suppose that action is not good, then he will get the penalty also. Whatever the actions he performed, he these actions are stored inside the agent. Why? Because is it best action or is it bad action? So by this way, an agent can interact with the environment. He will learn. Such type of learning is nothing but the reinforcement learning. These are the different types of machine learning algorithms. Now we will go through the applications of some machine learning algorithm. As we know that, right, where the machine learning algorithms are mostly used. The applications are nothing but where we are using the machine learning. Here, in so many domains, we are using machine learning algorithms. Healthcare, used for disease prediction, medical image analysis, and patient monitoring. Healthcare. Education, in the education domain, used for student performance prediction, personalized learning. Banking and finance, used for fraud detection, credit scoring, and stock prediction. E-commerce applications, used for product recommendations and customer behavior analysis. These are the four domains. Majorly, we are using machine learning algorithm. In anywhere in the world, we are using machine learning algorithms. That's why all the applications are under comes the machine learning only. Now, we will enter into the topic brain and the neuron. In this topic, how a neuron was developed by the developers. What is the connection between the brain and neuron? The biological representation or biological brain, how the biological structure of brain is impacted to invent the neuron. We can see here. Now, before that, first of all, we need to understand how the task is done by the brain. The human brain contains about 86 billion neurons that are nothing but the nerve cells. Neurons are the basic units of the brain and nerve system. They communicating using electrical and chemical signals. What are the basic parts of the brain? We can see the basic parts of the brain are four: dendrites and cell body, axons and synapses. With the help of these four parts only, the brain can think, learn, and do the actions. Dendrites receive the signals from the other neurons. Cell body process the received signals, and axon carries the electrical signals and carries electrical signals away from the cell body. Next, synapses. There is a gap where the neurons communicate using neurotransmitters. By seeing the diagram, you can easily understand. This is the process here, like how how a neuron in the brain will work. First, dendrite receive the signals and process the signals, and axon sending the signals. Synapses, it will connect to the another neurons. By this way, the brain can work. From biological neuron to artificial neurons, how the biological neuron can impact it to implement the artificial neuron. Here, artificial neurons are inspired by the biological neuron in the human brain. They are basically basic building blocks of the artificial neural network is also neuron. Neuron is very important. Artificial neural networks are implemented by the neurons only. Artificial neuron receives one or more inputs. Here, every neuron is assigned with a weight. Calculate the weights of the sum of the inputs, apply the activation function, and produce the output. This is the how an artificial neuron will work. First, receive the signals. For each signal, it will assign the weight. After that, summing the signals. After that, that value is passed to the activation function. Activation function will produce the output. We can see the diagram here. These are the neurons. Each neuron have associated with the corresponding weight. All are combined together here. This value is passed to the activation function. The activation function will produce the output. In this way, a neuron can work. This is the diagrammatical representation of how the brain is motivated to develop the neuron. This is the biological structure of brain. This is the artificial neuron. Here, see, these are the dendrites. This is the cell body. Where from the dendrites are receiving the signals from the other neurons. It is passed to the cell body. In the cell body, the process is happened, and then the signals are carried over here. Again, this is the synapses where there is a gap in between this neuron to another neurons. This is the synapses. It will connect with each other to pass the signals. By this way, the data is passing from here to all the cell bodies. By this way, the brain is working. In the same way, here, this is a neuron. Each neuron is associated with the corresponding output. All are combined together to form the one sum value. This value is passed to the activation function. Activation function will generate the output. This is the relationship between biological representation of brain and neuron. A common activation functions include like sigmoid function, ReLU, and the hyperbolic tangent functions. This is about the brain and neuron. What is the relationship between the biological brain and neuron concept? This is the diagrammatical representation of the brain and the neuron. So, in this today's topic, we cover what are the different types of algorithms, and what is the relationship between the biological brain and neuron. What are the different types of applications of machine learning? Thank you.